Alrighty, welcome to episode 219 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. 4 months after first being able to be ordered, launch edition refreshed Model Ys have finally started being delivered to West Australian owners. After years of fruitless speculation, Tesla is now set to finally release FSD supervised into Australia. In a video released by Tesla AI, a Highland Model 3 engineering vehicle is seen effortlessly driving autonomously through the Melbourne CBD. As proof of its readiness for imminent deployment, the car was specifically tasked with performing a classic Melbourne hook turn, which is uncommon in other jurisdictions. In an ex-post, Tesla Australia stated, quote, "Hook turn, U-turn, our turn." And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. And as is customary, although I'm a little bit rusty on this, what I'd like to do is invite anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so to please unmute and say hello.
I'm not, well, this is only my second meeting, so I'll just say hi again, Colin Jackman.
Colin, welcome back.
Thank you.
Have we got anyone else that would like to say hello?
Hi,
I'm new. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, go Tim, and then
Hi. I'm new. I'm Tim. I've been with Tokwa for a while actually, but just been busy with my own little things, and just recently being able to kind of free up a bit more time to just kind of get a bit more involved. So
fantastic, and welcome aboard. And Karim.
yeah, hi. My name's Karim Gower. I'm from the Gold Coast. I joined Tokwa because I'm looking at buying my first Tesla. And you say ask you anything. I'm here to ask you anything and listen as well. So it's nice to join you. Thank you very much for inviting me and letting me join Tokwa.
Absolute pleasure. And the question I will pose you is, what will it take for us to get you into a car tonight? And we can go through all the reasons why it's a very good idea to purchase a Tesla. And the best time to purchase one, well, was probably yesterday, but it's never too late. And it's something that should you choose to go through with a purchase, you'll never regret. But we can certainly go through a few of the features and benefits quite soon, actually. So yeah, welcome, Karim, all the way 2 hours into the future.
And it's okay. You'll be fine in 2 hours' time. No problem.
Yes, indeed. Alrighty, can we go for a quartet or whatever it's called when you've got four? Anyone else like to say hello? Or perhaps a little bit later. Awesome. All right. So obviously the big news.
Can I just say something to Karim, Harold?
Yes, Damon.
I'll just give him fair warning. Remember, like over 3 years ago now. I did one Tokwa meeting, and then my next Tokwa meeting, I posted my order. Remember? So
Yep.
And I think didn't you do it live on the show, Damo?
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
Indeed.
I'm really crook too, by the way. So yeah.
Okay, well, get well, Damo. Actually,
No,
Karim, so quick question: are you more interested in looking at the Model 3 or the Model Y?
Model Y, and I'm going to buy, so it's no problem. I'm not umming and ahhing.
Yep.
And I've looked around for quite some time. I follow things on X. I'm reading what Tesla writes. I saw what you just showed as well before. This is huge news,
Yep.
getting FSD in Australia. And
Well, it's not quite here yet, but it's
Right.
imminent. Yes.
well, they've shown that. So that's
Yes.
surely a big deal, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I understand that there are no restrictions in Australia for this to have this
That's
technology running as
that's
well.
correct. And Tom Drew was actually interviewed. I don't recall the originating interviewing organisation, but I did see it reported on news.com.au, but it may entirely have been some entirely different organisation,
Hmm.
specifically saying, and I've actually got the quote, excuse me for 2 seconds, he said, there's currently no blockers in Australia to releasing the self-driving supervised, as we have in North America, he said. It's something our business is working on releasing. I don't have a time frame currently for you, but it's certainly very exciting to be able to bring that to a market that doesn't have a regulatory blocker.
Yeah.
So it's definitely official from the head of Tesla Australia that literally, if they were able to, they could release it overnight, FSD supervised that is, and there's nothing stopping them whatsoever. Obviously, FSD unsupervised is a different story, but to be honest, for most of us who have ordered FSD, some of us have ordered it several times, and or alternatively for a long time. The main game is supervised because we just want to see these cars do awesome things.
Mm.
The fact that perhaps in a year or two's time we can have it unsupervised will just be the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Harold, might be a good time to mention about the referral before Karim actually places the order.
Right. Yes, I understand that. But having gone through a marriage separation last year, I won't be buying a new one. I'll be buying a used one.
Ah, cool. Okay, so and
Okay.
actually, you should also contemplate if there are any inventory Model Ys left in stock because if they are still left, they will have very compelling discounts. So that's something you should also consider.
I've had a look, but I didn't see any basic ones. So I'm just after the simplest. I want to have a Tesla. And so it would be white with black interior, etc. Just a basic Tesla.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any in the inventory for new. The other ones that were like performance or the long range, they had discounts of about $6,000 and $7,000, I think.
Yeah, okay. I'll just check the WA inventories. What you should do is look at the different states because
Okay.
they do have different stock. So Tesla does not move around vehicles nationwide. They will have local stock, although perhaps I'm not exactly sure about the Eastern Seaboard. There may be a little bit of scope for shifting, but WA definitely has its own stock. So that's something you could contemplate. I mean, there is a little bit of messing around with licensing or stamp duty and all that sort of stuff, but it's not impossible to sort that out if you
Right.
found the right car for you.
Kareem, I
Um,
see in WA there's a rear-wheel drive, which is the base version.
Yep.
It's in black with black interior, and that's been reduced by about was it $6,200? So the drive-away price is $60,100. I call it $60,000.
Is there any used inventory there, Pete?
So that one looked like it was so that was a new vehicle.
Yep.
Only two of the rear-wheel drives. That black one, there's a blue one, but the blue one's about 64 grand. They're both new, but there are still two of the older shape still in inventory.
My question, I have many questions, but one of them is that I just asked Grok whether all Tesla Model Ys in Australia are compatible with FSD, and the response was probably not all, but that's one of the reasons why, one of my questions that I have for you. And so if they're all compatible, then I'll buy the oldest one because it's going to be cheaper. It is an important time for me to watch my money, and yet it's time for me, without going into what happened with the cars in the last year between somebody and myself. It's
Yeah.
the car,
So
the 20-year-old car that I've got. It's great. I know its history, it's been in the family, but it's time. It's 20 years old. And so I don't
yeah.
want anything else but a Tesla. Yeah.
So the short answer is ultimately yes. Every single car that has FSD offered on it or was purchasable with it will get FSD unsupervised, whether or not that requires a computer upgrade, which Tesla will do for free once, if provided that the car has been, that FSD has been purchased prior to the upgrade. So
In short, any Model 3 or any Model Y in Australia is you can buy FSD on. So once you have the car, you go into your app, you go on the upgrades, and within 30 seconds you can spend either the $5,000 odd dollars or the $10,100. It will be the quickest $10,000 you've ever spent, because 30 seconds later it will be, as long as you've got reception, it will be on your car and ready to go. The nuanced answer to that is some cars of the called 3, and any new Highland, so any new shape Model 3, and any Model Y from about January last year roughly will have hardware 4. There's two ways you can tell. So you can go into the screen and click on details, vehicle details, and it will tell you. Or alternatively, you can just look into the cameras, and they'll have a little red dot inside. It's quite visible, and that red dot tells you it's hardware 4. And the hardware 4 is better than hardware 3. But as Harold has said, Tesla has, or Elon Musk has said that they will upgrade the hardware 3 cars to hardware 4 if you purchase full self-driving.
Okay. And thank you. I understand that. So I probably wouldn't purchase full self-driving right now, but I'd be happy to get I think the lower one is autopilot.
enhanced autopilot for $5,000 odd dollars or $5,100.
Yeah, because I just read the other day on one of the Tesla channel X channels, I think it's Tesla AI, that the chances of an accident are just so much lower when you've got enhanced autopilot.
No, actually, no, that's a correction for that. You actually, all of those Model Ys and Model 3s for that matter come for free with autopilot, and that's most of the safety features. Well, actually, a lot of the safety features are just things like forward collision warning,
lane keeping,
and also lane keeping or lane assist, emergency braking, automated emergency braking. So, but autopilot comes for free, so you'll get that for any Model 3 or Model Y, no matter how cheap it is. So enhanced autopilot really is just, it's got a couple of slightly good features such as semi-automatic lane changes, so that you just if you're in a multi-laned road, you can just press the indicator, not even looking over your shoulder, and the car will only change lanes automatically if provided there's no vehicle in the way. So that's a slight enhancement, I guess, of a feature, and there is a bit of a safety aspect to it because the car doesn't rely on you looking over your shoulder. It does that for you, but it costs $5,000.
Right.
But
Well,
absolutely, the base model, cheapest Model Y, oldest Model Y, or Model 3 have autopilot complimentary for free.
oh, cool. I'd rather not spend the five at the moment.
Now,
Yes, no,
in
no,
the used
absolutely.
market,
So
but you
you
might be able
don't.
to find one with FSD on it. Like
Yeah,
if he
well,
wants
that's
to.
exactly right. Now, there's a certain person I know that has a Model Y. It's not very old. It's it's only done $189,245, but it could be a screaming bargain.
Kilometers.
Um, Kilometers, sorry. Just saying. But yeah, so you can, and by the way, too, don't be too scared of cars that have done a few kilometers because they're EVs,
Yeah.
and one great thing is that the drivetrain doesn't really wear out, and you'll get a slight bit of degradation on the battery, but it just doesn't matter. You're on the eastern seaboard, whereby you are surrounded and marinated in rivers of gold as far as fast DC charging is concerned. So
If
the
we don't
range
go
of the
west. If we
yeah,
don't
just don't go west.
yeah.
Don't go west
But
in any like at all. Don't go Western Queensland. Don't go don't go to the west. Don't go to Perth. I mean, I'm only joking. Of course, you can go to Perth, but
yeah.
on the eastern seaboard, you've
Um,
got so much charging. It's just not funny. You could just buy the cheapest standard range Model Y, which has a practical range of about, at worst case, 325 kilometers if you're hammering it down a chip seal, very poor condition road. Absolute worst case if you're into a headwind. But you've got charges every 50 kilometers or so. It's just not an issue.
Cool. Thank you.
Kareem, just to be strictly correct, so those figures that you probably saw on X in terms of autopilot being 10 times up to about 10 times safer than a human. So those figures are based on US data, and it's based on the version that they have in the US. The version that we currently have in Australia has not been worked on by a human for over 5 years. It's a very different version. It's only designed to be used on freeways, highways, major roads with clear white markings, no cross traffic, no parked cars, good visibility, no roadworks, that sort of thing. If you use it that way, it is pretty good. It can occasionally do silly things, but that's why you still have to supervise it. But it's getting more and more rare. But I wouldn't say if, I would now say when we get that version from the US, the FSD supervised, then you could potentially argue that those figures that they're seeing in the US could translate to Australia. In fact, you could argue that the safety could be higher in Australia because we don't really have that many snowy roads. We don't really have that many icy roads. So in general, and the traffic in Australia seems to be a little bit more organised than it is in some jurisdictions in the US. So a little bit less chaotic. So you could argue it could even be safer in Australia.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. Just on a sideline, if I may, I compared Tammy was from Colorado, and which has the population of Queensland, and Denver has the population of Brisbane, near enough. And we just compared the road fatalities for maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We did this, and over there it's double what it is here. So, okay, it's a smaller state, but it must be the way they drive.
Perhaps there's also seatbelts, Grim. They're not mandatory, are they?
I've always put them on. There.
Yeah, but there, is it compulsory?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So
that
in
might be a
America, it's
factor.
not America. It's not compulsory, which is why airbags in the States have to be sized so as to effectively restrain or reduce the severity of an accident of someone who is not wearing a seatbelt. Because in America, they have the freedom not to wear seatbelts.
Right. Okay. But they lose their lives twice as fast.
Well, they've also got the freedom to die young, so
Yeah, that's right.
and be poor and other things. But let's not get into politics. But that's why, and also Colorado, you've got harsh winters, so you've got ice on roads and things like that. So
Okay. Okay. Yep. Point taken. Sure. Okay. So, look, thank you for putting me up front straight away on this talk. And if may I ask another question or two?
yeah, go on, and then we'll go to some other questions.
All right. I won't take too much longer.
No, it's totally fine.
The car that maybe happens to be for sale for 185,000 Ks um, is
It's a very special car. I can guarantee that it's done almost exclusively country miles by
okay.
definition because it's been around the country 7 times. So it's certainly
Okay.
been tested. But no,
It
you're
need
no one's going to buy my car. But it was just an example. And actually, it's probably a good example. That car, having done 189,000 kilometers, is more than 12 years of average
yeah.
car use. So, which it survived quite admirably. So that's just an example of the endurance of those cars.
I believe they're the best cars in the world.
Uh,
So
Yes,
Karim,
absolutely.
If you just want a surety, I bought a Tesla Y 15 months ago, and I drive back and forwards to Albany a lot. I've done 42,000 kilometres. Best car I've ever driven. Just amazing.
right, great. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm to buy, because I have a company, I'm to buy it through a dealer, not through a private person, because I can write off the GST.
Yes, and also, while this is not strictly financial advice, it's as good
Yes.
as your accountant will confirm that you put it in the name of the company. It does you do not need to undertake a logbook. You can just state that it's 100% personal use, but because it's a compliant EV, actually no, sorry, no, I'll rephrase that. It has to have been first registered on the 1st of July a year ago, Pete? Was that, or was it 2 years ago?
2022, isn't it? That first came in.
I don't think so. So you just check with your accountant. This is actually very important because it needs to have the original purchase price had to have been below the modified luxury car tax threshold, the LCT threshold for what are deemed fuel efficient vehicles. So you need to find that cutoff date because that will make a tremendous difference to the way your company can treat it. If it's too old, your company will have to treat it as any of your personal use. You'll have to either get the company to pay FBT on that personal proportion, or you'll have to reimburse your company for that proportion of personal use, which includes all of the energy costs, insurance costs, and depreciation. But if it's one that is younger than the cutoff, than the start date of the legislation, which I think might be 2 years ago, roughly, or nearly 2 years ago, then
Yeah.
you can literally just deem it to be 100% personal use, and your company still has to report the fringe benefit, which is declared as a reportable fringe benefit for certain tax purposes, such as affecting um, your tax-free super contributions and family tax benefit part A or B or A and B. But apart from that, that's just an entry that goes in as a side note for your tax return. But the actual rating of the fringe benefits tax, rather than being the top marginal rate plus Medicare levy, is 0, which means all the depreciation, all the running costs, everything can be run through the business without the need to establish any amount of business use. It can be literally 100% personal. So
I just checked. It was actually 1st of July 2022. So
great.
Not sure who it was that said 2022.
Richard Chapman.
But you were
On the
right.
money.
Whoever. Yep.
But it has to have had it. Like you can't buy a performance Model Y, and possibly some of the long range ones in certain colours. Possibly, you need to find out the original purchase price and look at the luxury car tax threshold for EVs in that financial year, to make sure that the original purchase price was beneath that threshold. Provided it is, then it's happy days. Very big, important point for a company purchased second-hand car.
Right. I understand what you mean.
There were some demo performance Model Ys that just snuck in.
I'm just saying, Pete, if as long as the price met the criteria at the time it was first purchased or registered, it's okay. But if it was $1 more, it's out. There's no sliding scale. It is completely out. And it's a very important point to make, because it dramatically affects the way you can treat it through a business or a company.
Absolutely.
It totally transforms it. It's almost like a perfect tax dodge, for lack of a better term, for a more colloquial term. It's a very big incentive, and it's great that there is that incentive to purchase EVs up to a certain value, which is great.
And to find out the original purchase price,
you could ask the seller, because look, they've got nothing. I don't. In fact, every person that sells a Tesla secondhand, if they're the first owner, has in their Tesla login, they have got the original invoice. We all do. So everyone that buys a brand new Tesla in perpetuity has access to that invoice, because it's in your documents folder within your car's entry in your login for Tesla. So there's no way that they wouldn't have it, unless it's a second sale or third sale second-hand vehicle, in which case they might not have ever seen the original purchase price. But look, if it's a standard range Model Y, then you're in the clear, absolutely, guaranteed. It's just whether it's a long range or a performance. Performance is highly unlikely, but possible. If it's long range, it would have depended on if it's pearl white with black interior and aero wheels, so not the alloy rims, then it probably fitted, but it's still just good to check just in case. Because sometimes people make a mistake, and for instance, if it has FSD, full self-driving, they might have made the mistake of actually buying it at order time rather than a few minutes after delivery. Because if it was bought prior to being delivered, that FSD, which is just a software switch, is deemed to be part of the capital of the car from the start.
I understand. So if I can just say this back to you from my notes, it might be a little bit jiggly, but I need to find out the original purchase price, which must be below the luxury car tax threshold. And it needs
for
to
EVs.
be...
For EVs, there's two
EVs?
thresholds. Yes, there are two. There's one for standard cars, and there's one that's named the fuel efficient vehicles luxury car tax threshold.
Right. This is with the ATO.
Yes, yes, and that's available in different years. You can look it up. You can look up what it was last year, the year before. There's a table that shows previous years' thresholds.
And this was
it's not today's threshold, but it's at the time of purchase.
At the time of purchase, which must be after the 1 July 2022.
Correct.
Yes.
And the rest I will speak with Jacob, my accountant, who we're on great terms. So he's...
Accountants these days should be pretty much onto it, because there's been a lot of interest. if you asked an accountant perhaps 6 or 9 months ago, many of them would not have been aware of it unless they looked it up themselves. But I think these days, most accountants, they've probably been flooded with so many inquiries about it that they're all very well boned up about it. And it's a pretty simple concept once they just grasp it.
Okay, he hasn't mentioned this concept to me. What he said is something like, I don't need to keep a logbook, and if I just claim what I take from my roof, there's a certain deduction per cents per kilometre, but it doesn't matter whether I buy it off my roof or whether I buy it at the Tesla fast charger or whatever. It's the same kilometre rate that can be claimed. The
Yeah,
same.
that might be if it was a personal use. I'd just just say you want the company to buy it and to find out about the FBT zero rating, because I don't think you have to mess around then, because then the company just pays all the bills. If you go supercharging, it just pays for supercharging. Home is a different story. That maybe that's where your accountant's talking about. You can just deem to be reimbursed at a certain number of cents per kilometre on the presumption that you're charging it from home or whatever.
Yeah.
But look, to be honest, the actual energy cost is sort of so low, particularly if you're charging at home, and if you've got solar, it's even less. That's not a very big thing to deal with. The main thing the main gain is on the tax effect of using your company's before tax income rather than your after tax income. That's the big gains.
Right, and any depreciation and insurances and
The
things
whole
like
lot, it just goes straight to the business with no repercussions with no fringe benefit tax repercussions.
Thank you. That's a biggie.
No
And
worries.
that's
Alrighty. Yep.
yes, thank you. Thank you very
Yep.
much.
No problems. Alrighty. So has anyone else got any other questions about
Yeah,
Teslas
can I
or
ask a question,
anything?
Harold and Pete and everyone? After a long time, this is
Yes.
Salat. Hey,
How you going?
sorry, I got the company name here. I'm sorry.
No,
So,
that's totally cool.
yeah, just want to ask you now. I have been having the Tesla Model 3 for last maybe 3 years plus. I'm experiencing some problem with the FSD. When I try to engage that while I'm driving, it gets the blue lights, blue lines, and everything is quite visible. It goes like that. I'm also putting my hands on the steering wheel, which is required to be done. Put some traction on that too, just to make sure that it is not free. But after about a few hundred meters, actually, the blue light flashes and then gives me weird signals, and then I have to again manually interfere with that, and then I disengage suddenly. So it is not kept engaged in FFD mode.
Okay, so and does it say anything like it had to abort because there was unusual activity or something like that?
No,
Or oh,
no.
okay. Because one of the things that FSD does, oh, actually, I think Autopilot does it too, is it uses the internal camera that's above your rear view mirror, and if it doesn't see your eyes looking in the direction of the road, so for example, if you're looking to your side mirror because you can see a car that's close or you can hear something or sirens in the background or whatever, and you sort of glance a little bit too long at the side mirror, then the camera will pick that up, and then you'll get the blue thing and you get a beep, like a pretty rude beeping noise that says pay attention to the road. And if you persist in not doing what it wants you to do, which is pay attention, then it will abort altogether. But if it does that, and it'll abort for the rest of the drive until you put the car in park, and then you'll get a message that says, we detected, I forget the exact wording, let's call it inappropriate driving behavior or something, not or inadequate attention to the road,
Yeah.
then you get a strike, and that strike lasts for, I forget if it's 1 or 2 weeks. So you have to have a clear record of not having those infractions for 1 or 2 weeks before that strike disappears, and you can get up to 5. Well, the 5th strike is when it won't allow you to use autopilot for 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that's the one thing. The other thing too is, and it can be a little bit annoying, is yes, you can have your hand on the steering wheel the whole time, but if for whatever random reason it doesn't think that you're applying any amount of slight torque or turning motion to the steering wheel because you're on a straight piece of road or something, I've actually had the blue warning thing go and I'm still holding the wheel and I'm like, I'm holding it, then you have to artificially sort of jiggle it. Unfortunately, if you sort of misjudge that, you can actually apply more than the 200 grams that it needs. Was it 500 grams? And you can actually disengage autopilot inadvertently, well, accidentally. So it might be one of those two things. Now, this is something that I would never recommend that anyone does, but it has been said on the internet that if you cover up the cabin camera, and like I said, I'm not advocating that anyone should or that anyone does do that, then that would stop that aspect of the monitoring, but at all times would still require regular detection of a hand. And it's not the gripping of the steering wheel. You can grip it as hard as you like. It makes no difference. It's the slight amount of torque or turning motion that it can detect and say, oh, yes, it will then infer that you are paying attention to driving.
Yeah, but
So,
the thing is, my driving style was not changed. It was the same
yeah,
driving style for last 3 years, and I
yeah.
experienced this problem over the last 3 months or so.
Was it? Was it? I sort of wonder, were you pressing the accelerator as well? Because they did that with an update, and then you would get a flashy. It's the same flash as if you're not paying attention or anything.
Yeah, the
And
car
that
won't brake on auto one.
it
And it's
it
very annoying because
it
it
does
looks
your
the
head in.
same as your
It's exactly the same thing.
inattention thing.
Yep,
If it was a different color, if it was like an
green
orange
or
color
yeah,
or green
orange.
or just anything that wasn't blue, then at least
Mm.
you'd instantly know. Actually, I was doing testing because I've just finished my lap and I was a little bit bored because you just sit in the car all day and drive or get driven. And I was doing tests of trying to do the simultaneous um, putting your foot in the accelerator
Yep.
and also not turning the steering wheel and to see whether the two warnings overlap. And the one that is really important, which is you've got to put torque on the steering wheel because that will put you in a sin bin or get you a strike. Whereas the so-called the warning of your car won't stop automatically um, is not. There's no consequence to that unless, of course, you careen into something. But
But
that could be what it is. What you're seeing,
What I'm
it
thinking.
might not. It might be because you want the car to accelerate a bit quicker, or you might have the speed limit set to say, I don't know, 60, and it might be in the wrong speed limit zone, and you just push your foot to help the car go a bit quicker. Then you'll get that very same looking warning. But the text will be subtly different. It'll say autopilot will not brake automatically.
And it used
Yeah.
to never do that before, up until about 2 or 3 months ago, like you say.
Yeah.
It was just through a free over-the-air software update, which made it flash in blue. But it used to never do that before. Before, it would still give you the message saying autopilot won't brake while your foot's on the accelerator, but it used to never flash in blue. But yeah, it would be useful if it flashed a different color so you could differentiate.
Right. I spoke to actually the support line and they said restart the car, and I did everything what they asked me to do. But then they say if the problem persists, best thing is to do a service booking. So I'm not sure whether whether they can detect any problem in the car.
I don't think you've got a problem with the car. I think the
Right.
car's functioning as it should. It's
Right.
just that, through that over-the-air software update, it's changed where now it flashes blue if you've got your foot on the accelerator. Never used to do it, but now it does. And like the guy said, it's just a bit frustrating because it gets mixed up with the inattention or not enough torque on the steering wheel. So
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Alrighty. Anyone else?
Someone's got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, John. I
It's
should have looked
okay.
at the screen.
I just put it up. But I just wanted to confirm your understanding. I've got hardware 3 Model Y performance, To get free FSD upgrade, when it's announced, I'd have to buy the FSD before that announcement. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. So what happened in the past, and this involved Canada, was that at the time FSD was a lower price, and Elon Musk has sort of said this is years ago, that once they get closer to true FSD, then the discounted price would go up. Now, for a while, Australia has had a discounted price to the States. However, I don't think that's actually where that much discounted anymore, because the price of FSD to buy it outright has actually reduced. So I think it might be 7,000 US dollars now. I think it used to be 10-ish, I think.
I think
So
it's 8, man.
is it 8 US now?
Yeah, so that would be
Okay,
about
so it's a little bit
12
dearer
and a half.
than in
Yeah.
Australia. Now, what Elon Musk did say, because FSD wasn't available in Canada, was he made the promise that you would get an appropriate amount of warning that basically said, go and buy FSD at the current price before there would be a price rise due to an increase in features. And what actually happened was Tesla reneged on that, or didn't do that. The price just went up overnight. And then a lot of owners complained on Twitter/X, and then Tesla did the right thing, which was abide by what Elon Musk promised, which was no one would be sort of like in that surprise sort of situation.
Yeah.
So having seen what's happened in the past, it's all but certain that if there were to be a impending price rise for FSD to buy it outright in Australia, that there would be at least a few days notice of that, in which case you could literally jump on your phone, open the Tesla app, and just go, I think it's features and upgrades, or upgrades and something in your phone app, and just go. Actually, I could actually do that on my car.
It's upgrades and then software.
Upgrades and then software. So yeah, so you could just do that, and you could just pay the $10,100, like Pete said, literally within seconds. In fact, if you've got an iPhone, and I don't know about Google, maybe similar, you literally just go, I want to buy it. It goes, are you sure? And it will explain, I think, that you can actually, if you sort of buy it by mistake or you regret the purchase, within 24 or 48 hours, you can cancel it, but you can only do that once, ever. And within less than 30 seconds, your credit card, providing it's got the money, will be debited the $10,100. So you can actually make that, let's call it a rushed purchase, very quickly. If, for example, it's publicized that FSD Supervisor is coming to Australia, or it's here, and as of XYZ date, the price is going to go from 10,100 to 12,100 or something more. So there will always be time to make that purchase if and when it becomes very real, which is, when FSD Supervised is launched.
Because I just want to make sure that I have got it before, so that I could get the free upgrade of the hardware, catch the free upgrade of the hardware. Because if you leave it too late, they'll say no, they won't upgrade the hardware.
Oh, actually, no.
If you've
As
got
long as
no
they sell you
FSD.
FSD, as long as it's available on your Tesla app. Now, there could be a thing, they might get clever and actually increase the price to factor in the cost of the extra computer or the new computer.
Yeah.
But really, the actual computer would only cost $1,500, worst case.
Yeah.
I mean, what's painful for Tesla is the fact that there are many hundreds of thousands of cars out there that may need upgrading. So to upgrade one car is easy. To upgrade hundreds of thousands for no money, for free, that's painful, because that's going to cost I don't know, dozens of millions of dollars, or probably more, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars to Tesla. But they will do it. The commitment was always there. You've bought the product. They can't sort of say, yeah, but it's a bit too hard. And so, for example, Richard Chapman, who's in the house, he has an old Model X that was built in November 2016, and that had a very old computer in it, and that computer was upgraded for free, and it's all but certain it will need to be upgraded again, and that it will again be for free, and cameras as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about sort of being.
Think the cameras were done at one point, not the computer though.
Yeah, but they might need another doing. I think
Okay.
they might need another doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because originally the cameras were RCCC, which is
That's
like
it, yeah.
a reddish. It had a false color sort of look, but it might need doing again, possibly.
Awesome.
But that's a commitment that Tesla's made. They will any car that has FSD, and the point is, as long as you can buy FSD on your app, it's not like there's an asterisk that said, yeah, but it's not going to work. I mean, they cannot sell a product that doesn't work. It just can't be done. So, John, I wouldn't worry too much about that. You don't need to feel rushed into buying it per se. The other thing too is in America, you can actually rent FSD for $99 a month.
Yeah.
Now, that's what $1,200 a year. That's actually a pretty good deal. Although I know in human nature is I don't think it's worth $100 a month.
Yeah.
But you're happy to shell out 10 grand, which is almost 8 years worth of prepayment for a car you probably won't keep for 8 years.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I've only done low K, so just not really that sure about upgrading to a new car because this car's great. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But up to you. I mean, you could also go the halfway, and Mike, I'll get to you in a sec. You can go the halfway, which is a little bit like a 50% insurance, which is go enhanced autopilot, because what would happen is that's $5,100. That's about half price. Now, let's say worst case, Tesla increased the price of FSD by $4,000. Well, what would happen is it would be $2,000 more of an enhanced autopilot. So, because it's halfway. So you could go that halfway step as a bit of a hedge against price volatility. But like I said, Elon Musk did a long time ago promise that everyone would always get at least a little bit of notice of an impending price rise in FSD.
And the thing is, enhanced autopilot probably gives you about 90% of the features that you get with the full FSD. So you're only paying half the price but getting most of the features. Anyway.
Okay, thanks, guys.
No worries. Mike, you got your hand up.
Yes. I think you just pinched my question, Harold. So I was going to ask, so let me repeat back to see if I understood. So I have enhanced autopilot with my 22 Model 3. So does that mean if I wanted to buy full, I only have to pay like $5 grand?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you can verify that now on your Tesla app. If you go to upgrades,
I'm going to check that after, because whenever I go to upgrades, it says buy the monthly connection, and I didn't see anything about, the monthly.
So you got to go software upgrades.
Yep.
And then you go to buy. There's subscribe. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'll look at it because I'm using my phone for my camera, so I can't check it myself.
Yeah. So there's subscribe, which is what you normally see.
Yes.
But you see just to the side, there's buy. And buy has enhanced autopilot 5,100 or full self-driving for 10,100. And in fact, I'm just going to experiment. I'll go
It's $5,000, Harold, to buy EAP. I've got it on my phone.
Yep. So I just hit buy and it goes checkout.
Yep.
So that's how quick it is. If I go checkout, it will say address and ask questions, then you hit submit, and then very quickly it gets very real. and I'm
And
not
the door
quite going to
disappears.
commit to doing it right now.
And
because I'm just
nobody
going
has
to
to
check.
count the cash.
Well, I'm just gonna check when the due date of my credit card is, so I can push it into the next 60-day billing period.
I
Because
think
when
too,
I
if you
use,
want to try it, you can buy it and you've got 48 hours to take it back if you just want to try it
Yeah.
and get your money back.
yeah, but I think you're only allowed to do that once, and I'm not sure if it's super easy to re-buy it again. I do know you only get one chance to do that, so I wouldn't necessarily risk it. And the other thing too is one thing that Tesla did, and it's done it several times in the States, is actually offer a free trial of FSD for a month or 3. I can't exactly remember how long it is. And they've done that a couple of times in the States, and I dare say it's something that would be very likely to happen in Australia, because it just makes sense to get everyone to try it for nothing, on the basis that many people will just go, yeah, just take my money because I want it. Or Tesla in Australia might offer it for, say, well, let's call it $99 US. So that's what, about $160 per month, which is not a bad deal when you work out how many months goes into $10,000 before you break even, and that's. And one frustrating thing is it's actually difficult to do things like insure FSD. The only way you can really do it is to up your agreed value, and obviously pay through the nose in doing so, because frustratingly FSD is just a software switch. But if you write your car off, Tesla's lost nothing, literally, because there was nothing to, it's a software switch, but you cannot yet transfer FSD from a written off car to its brand new replacement, unfortunately.
Yes, that's unfortunate.
And
So
yep, it's like, it's as if you bought a new iPhone and you had to repurchase all your apps.
yeah,
In fact, that's exactly what it is like, and
yes.
it's not great.
Right. Well, hopefully your insurance should cover it. Yes.
Well, no, only if I think Zurich Insurance, which is Insure My Tesla, not necessarily the cheapest insurance in town. They do have a provision where you can tick a box that says you have FSD, and that is insured. But many, or if not most, of the other insurance companies, they don't have an accessory checkbox for FSD or enhanced autopilot. You just have to increase the agreed value to be, let's call it, $10,000 more than to cover it. Yeah.
Well, that's something to check next time my insurance is up, actually. Yes. So thanks for that, Harold.
Yep, no worries.
Hey, I've got a comment that might be valid for Karim or may not, given his situation. So, Karim, I bought a Model 3 6 months, or a bit more now, September last year, a 2022 Model 3. I just noticed on the WA website there's a 2022 Model 3 which had the single motor, and it's only got 11,000 on the clock, which is essentially a brand new vehicle. And I think I just said it's 45 grand. It's a white one too. I mean, unbelievably cheap given what you get. Because I know now I'm one of the fold. I know what I've got, which I had no idea about before. It doesn't matter how many times you read about it, until you get in one and experience it, you've no idea. But that price, say there was no Model Ys on there, I noticed, and that was my second comment. I expect with the new Model Y, there should be quite a few trade-ins, which Tesla will take the best of those and put on their shop. And then you'll have a Tesla branded one, which usually gets like an extra year's warranty like mine did, and they'll check it over and fix everything up and do all that stuff. So that might be useful.
Mike, thank you. I'm really after a Model Y.
Sure, but the same will be true of a Model Y. You get some bargains if you look.
Yes, so Model Ys, there'll be a lot being flipped because everyone wants the shiny new version.
Yep.
So there'll be a lot of Model Ys coming on the market over the next couple of months, or say 3 months. Because after all, deliveries only started late last week, or mid to late last week, and that was the first time the refreshed version has been delivered in WA, and Eastern States it was about a week earlier. And those cars could the earliest that they they had to be ordered or could be ordered from the 10th of January. So effectively, all new orders for the refreshed cars from the 10th of January onwards have only now just started to be delivered. So there will be a large impulse. I think there were 50,000. No, that's not correct. 5,000? I think it was 3,500, sorry, on one ship that went into Port Kembla. And there are other ships too. So there are a large number, and a non-trivial proportion of those deliveries will be for people that flip a previous model Tesla. Absolutely, definitely.
And as I say, for whatever reason, I don't understand why people do this, but they've literally got between 10 and 20,000 kilometers, which for a Tesla is brand new, essentially.
Yeah.
And you've had, it's probably not as big a deal for you with the company, but the depreciation is there.
I've seen quite a few for sale for 20,000 Ks on them. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Right.
That's a good point with the flip. Yep. Great.
Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
Harold, in chat, Robbie has asked a newbie question. About lane departure warning.
Lane departure warning alarm permanently. Yes, I think there is a software switch. I don't think I have it on my simulator, but actually, Paul, are you in the house? Yes, Paul's in the house.
Of course I am. Yeah.
You're in the house.
In the house. In the car.
Can you turn off lane? I'm pretty sure you can do lane departure assistance or what? Oh, there might be warning might stay, but assistance can be turned off. But the
emergency
warning,
lane departure you can turn off. There's
yeah,
a toggle for that.
Is that assist or is that warning?
Yeah,
No,
I have this.
That's
I had this
the
thing in the
avoidance.
past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this thing in the past too, where I like to drive very close to the line, and I mean it goes off at me so very often. It's
Yeah,
under
so
the settings and in auto drive and then
autopilot.
on the very
Yep.
bottom.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it does just flick on every time you just go into the car. You can turn off the assistance, but the emergency, it's there to first and foremost, to my understanding, is for your safety. So if it's annoying you and you know you're driving it in a good way, then you can be conscious in turning it off in that session. But for me, in my head, it's good to have it on anyway. And I think so. The answer to that, in my case, I think is that you can't unless you physically turn it off every time. So.
Yes, and for good reason. It's trying to help you keep the car in the center of the road. Although I know some people get frustrated, they would like to have like a little bit of an offset, so you could go, I don't know, 100 or 200 millimeters to the left because you want to sort of stay away from the center of the road for things like road trains and other vehicles that might be straying a little bit towards your lane. But that's just not an option that Tesla has at this stage, and I don't see it as them ever doing it, to be honest. So the Tesla on autopilot will literally mostly stay dead center in the lane, absolutely dead center in most circumstances. So yes, so Robbie, I guess, yeah, you're right. As Tim said, for that feature, because it's a fairly important safety feature, you've got to manually do it each time. But you could get in the swing of it and just hit the menu button, autopilot, move down to lane departure warning or assist, and just turn it off for that drive.
And under safety, you can flick on Joe mode, which actually reduces noises in the car as well.
It does reduce it, but it doesn't reduce the sound of that emergency. And I know because I've done it.
Just use autopilot. I'm like, why the hell are you guys driving anyway? Just get the car to drive itself.
Yeah.
I mean, mine's almost 6 years, and I'll just let it drive, and I'll just have my hand on the steering wheel just in case. And then when you have the fun roads like Crystal Brook Road up in the hills or something. Then you take over and then you actually gun it. I mean, drive sensibly. So
That's right.
Would Sexy Buttons be able to turn that off?
I don't
No
know.
safety
That's not a
feature,
feature
maybe
I've
not.
seen. Yeah, sorry. There could be an automation that at the start of each drive it does turn it off. Yes, but I guess I don't know the answer to that because it's not something I've been interested in. But you can certainly go to just Google Sexy Buttons S3XY buttons. The company is called Enhance Auto, and there is an FAQ section where it's got all of those features. They've got an updated feature list every time they do a new software update for the Sexy Buttons or for the Commander that has an ever increasing list of features that something like that could be part of it. One thing I personally like Sexy Buttons doing is turning off the automatic wipers while in autopilot, because that is something that is always re-enabled. And as someone who's just recently done a bit of bush driving, when you've got a windscreen full of dead insects and then at random the wiper decides to wipe dry, then all of those annoying spots of dead insects become very annoying, huge smears right across your windscreen, and it just does your head in. But that's just one of Tesla's foibles. It insists that if it's an autopilot, that it has automatic wipers and also automatic high beams.
But if you're on FSD, you can just lean out the window and get your cloth out and wipe the bugs off.
Best use of 10K.
Yeah, you certainly can within the bounds of physics. That's correct. Yes, you could. Yes, you could. Alrighty. Any other questions?
I have some if no one else has anything.
I have an experience that I can pass on, which you guys probably know, but new ones might not.
Yep, Mike, and we'll go straight to you, Tim, straight after. So yeah, go, Mike.
So I have my favorite apps along the bottom, and I have the maximum I can, and then the very left one, which is the recent one, I usually have as the energy one, because I'd like to look at that, see how we've been going. Anyway, it disappeared and wouldn't come back. Didn't my wife did? Wife was in there. Well, we're not going stupid. It would not come back. So there was no software update at the time or anything like that. So I just popped into Aussie Park and asked the service chap there, and he says, "Oh yeah, we see that occasionally." He said you have to reset. So of course I went looking through the manual for things on the screen, and I did the power off. I thought that was the reset, but it isn't. So as most of the experience heads know, if you want to reset, it's press the two wheels at the same time for a little period of time. I'm sure, Harold, you've got a better explanation.
No, that's absolutely correct. And what you do is you just press it until the screen goes black. So once the screen's gone black, then the main screen, then you can release the two scroll wheel buttons. That's a soft reset. It just resets the media control unit or the main screen, the MCU. And the cool thing is you can do it while you're driving.
Yeah.
And that's quite disconcerting.
I didn't understand why that was different from power off, but it obviously is.
To be honest, power off actually doesn't do very much, to be brutally honest. It really doesn't do much.
It's like
it goes
standby,
into standby.
basically, like almost like a hibernate in your computer, but then it wakes up.
But as soon as you do something, open the door or press your foot on the brake, it wakes up instantly anyway. So it's sort of it's not really a proper power off as such, but it is hibernate. Actually, that's a very good metaphor for it. Absolutely.
It was just interesting
Tim,
that software can get its knickers in a knot. That was what was interesting.
Yes, and on occasion, I mean, I've had my screen a couple of laps ago. It was in Broome actually. Just go black while I was driving along, and I'm going, oh, okay, and it stayed black for a few minutes, and I thought that, and this is including stopping the car, getting out, getting something, getting back in. Oh, it's still black screen. That's interesting. And then I don't know, a minute or two later, it sort of came good. So they are software defined vehicles, which can be interesting. Tim, you were going to ask something or say
Yeah,
something.
actually, I'm planning to do what you just came back from, which is a big lab. So I actually have a few questions. I'm not sure if it's best to kind of ask you directly at some point. But the ones that I have currently is mainly just like the charging options, I suppose, when I'm crossing between when I was looking at the map, the main two is between when you go over to Northern Territory. It's a little bit sparse there, and also
Yeah.
obviously the Nullarbor is the other part. And I think anywhere in between the two, besides those two, it's not really a big deal. So for me, it's really just those two primary
So,
points of concern.
so, Tim, do you want to do a whole lap or you just want to cross Nullarbor?
No, I'm doing a loop all around.
Right. And when do you want to do it?
Starting July.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the short and what sort of car have you got? What
I've
model?
got our 2023 Y Performance.
Okay. So, yeah, the short answer is yes, absolutely easy to do. No problem. With the Y Performance in particular, you've got the Uber turbine wheels, no doubt. So you won't get the same efficiency as other wheels or the long range version. So if we have a very quick look on PlugShare, and I'll just show the CCS, which is actually type. Oh yeah, CCS. So just very basically, as you go up north on the west coast, everything's easy pretty much until you get to Broome, and then it is precisely 400 kilometers between Broome and Fitzroy Crossing. So you can do that, but you have to take it steady. So you'll have to do something like
Just a bit slower and
90,
whatnot.
probably 95 kilometers an hour, roughly. Or you can just go up to Derby because that's less than half that distance. So Derby is 40 kilometers from the turnoff. So it's near Willair, and there's a turnoff just here. In fact, if you don't want to go to Derby, you have to turn. If you forget to turn, you will end up in Derby because it's like a T intersection that goes, the road
Right.
defaults
Yep.
straight and you have to consciously turn right. So that's good to know. Actually, since I just said that, there's another one that you can get very caught on, which is in South Australia, and that is where it's when you go past what's the name, Iron Knob.
Port
Oh,
Augusta.
it is Port Augusta. Sorry, it is here. So it's at Lincoln Gap, and again, if you just drive straight and ask me and tell me why I know, because I went about 4 k's further along until my car kept on. There was no on your navigate. You normally have a blue line in front of you on the map, and when the blue line was behind me, I thought, what's going on there? And it's like, that's because it wants me to turn around. So right there, after Port Augusta, the default, if you go straight, is you do not go to WA. You just go to the Eyre Peninsula, the whatever peninsula that is, whatever that's called. So that's a couple of sort of issues. But if you just go to Derby, then don't worry about the 400k gap because it's like 200 and something k's. And Derby is an interesting place to visit. The one of the challenges is between Kununurra and Katherine. That is 517 kilometres. Your
Yep.
Performance Model Y won't make that. Or it would if you did 60 k's an hour, but you're not going to do that to yourself. So you'll need to charge up at Timber Creek, most likely, or you can charge up at the Victoria River Roadhouse, which is somewhere about here. At Timber Creek, there is only a caravan main socket. So that's at the Timber Creek Hotel. They call it
So,
Traveller's Rest.
so I would just need to get a cable that can convert between the two. Is that?
Yeah, so you need to get a UMC, So that's the
Yeah.
universal mobile connector. But
Yeah, I
you'll
have
also
that. Yep.
need to get something else, which is a short 15 amp extension cord. The reason
Right. Yeah.
being is if you look at your UMC, for some weird reason, Tesla has firstly got I don't know what you call it. It used to be the old piggyback plugs. The cable comes out the side of the plug, not at the top of it. So, but what makes it worse is it comes out at a 45-degree angle, so it's at like a 4:30, 4 o'clock position, or 4:30 position on the sort of 12-hour clock. So when you plug it into the caravan inlet outlets, which are usually upside down, and they call it a
Right.
KMAC or
Yeah.
KMAX or KMAC, it probably won't fit properly. So if you get a short extension cord, a short 15 amp extension cord, or if you know an electrician, they can make you up a very short one, just so that you can plug in a standard 15 amp plug into the socket, and then have a short length and then a standard 15 amp extension socket, which you can then plug the UMC into that. Also, if you're going to do something like that, go to Bunnings or some hardware store and buy some cloth tape, because the plugs are upside down and there might be weight on them. The last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning and find your car's got no charge in it because the plug fell out half an hour after you went to bed. So that's a great pro tip. Caravanners do it all the time. It's to make sure that you relieve the weight off the cable and it stays plugged in. So, and cloth tape, one roll of cloth tape costs just a few dollars, and you don't need scissors to cut it. You can just tear it across the cloth. So that's the leg between Kununurra and Katherine. So you will basically have to stay overnight at Timber Creek. So you should budget to do that. So you should deliberately, explore Kununurra or whatever, and then budget to overnight at Timber Creek. Then you'll have enough added charge. You still need to leave Kununurra fairly full, but overnight you'll gain 150 kilometres of range or so, and then you can get to Katherine. After that, going up to Darwin's easy. Adelaide River to Catherine's only a couple of 100 k's. Adelaide River to Darwin is 100 kilometres. Then you've got fast charging at Mataranka. And if you take it steady, you can make it to Elliot. And Elliot has a 30 kilowatt DC charger. So I can show you that. It's right there, 30 kilowatts. And it's now actually at the full 30 kilowatt power level. So that works really well. Then you can make it to Three Ways. That's just north of Tennant Creek. That's got a 160 kilowatt ABB charger. It's got two of them actually. Then you've got the other pain point, which is between Three Ways and Camberwell, is 450 kilometres. Your car will not make that unless you do 60 k's an hour. So you need to budget an overnight stay at the Barclay Homestead, which is sort of halfway. And they are decidedly anti-EV and completely disinterested in having any charging infrastructure. But again, you can just hire a powered caravan site and you can stay in a cabin. They have cabins there, and you can then just use the 15 amp outlet, just ordinary outlets like that. So they're the two biggest gaps.
And then on the south side is the Nullarbor.
Oh, sorry. And then Camberwell is a pain because you've got to contact. Actually, I've got to put three-phase. So Camberwell, there is the RACQ in Camberwell, a gentleman by the name of David, and you need to pre-book it. You need to give him a couple of days' notice, and you can't charge on the weekends or after hours. Otherwise, you could just charge up on 15 amp. Although I recommend you do the three-phase. And once you've done that, you get to Mount Isa, which is 190 k's away. And then there's charges at Mount Isa, Cloncurry, Julia Creek, Richmond, Hughenden, and Charters Towers. Although the Hughenden one doesn't work at the moment, but it might work when I get back there next week. I let ChargeFox know, and they've informed Eureka, who own the infrastructure. So hopefully that'll get fixed. There's actually, I might just bring up X for a moment, and I'll show you a quirky trick that you might need to do at Richmond or at any other place that's got these charges. I'll just find that. But yeah, so after you got your Broome Fitzroy Crossing or Kununurra to Catherine Crossing and 3 ways to Camberwell / Mount Isa, after that it's all pretty easy. Like basically the rest is actually quite easy. So
okay, is that including coming across Nullarbor on the south side as well?
Yeah, Nullabor's easy because there are DC charges the whole way. There's a couple of little quirks, but we can get into that a little bit later, or I mean another time. And the thing too is, at any time you can ring TOCWA's helpline, which is 62623131, and then that'll get in contact, well, mostly with myself, and you can ring any time. For anyone, if you're on a road trip and you've got the irrits or you're a bit concerned about what's going on or whatever, then just ring 62623131. Preferably during daylight hours. And then we can help you out, or at least give you some advice. Now I'm just going to find, yeah, I've nearly got it. Here we go. So this is a tritium. So it's only putting out 9.7 kilowatts. It's a bit hard to see the screen because it's all been yellowed and gone brown, and it's going to fail soon. But 9.7 kilowatts on a 50 kilowatt fast DC charger. So the solution is just
the praying mantis optional.
Yeah, the praying mantis eventually moved upwards. So that was the solution. There was actually, as it turns out, there was a 2 lengths of hose, and I had to go and get a joiner at the hardware store, which was just across the road. And I asked a lady who was working at the premises next to the charger if it was okay if I could borrow those 2 pieces of hose and use some water. Now, I think I did another video. I thought I did one that it actually showed me holding the hose and going, yeah, this is what you get on the Queensland Electric Superhighway. As it turns out, you don't need to use that much water. You can just, even if you had something like a Windex spray bottle, you could just fill it up with water and spray into the radiator, because the heat content of water is very great compared to the heat content of air. So the problem with that charger was that effectively the radiator fan, which is a 12-volt electric fan, had failed, and it wasn't moving air through the radiator. So therefore the charger, which all its electronics is hermetically sealed in the upper part of the unit, couldn't reject the heat that it was generating, and therefore had to slow down, had to reduce power. But just by adding a little bit of water was enough to cool it down so it could produce full power. So that's one of the things that can happen to these tritium units. And like I said, if you just had a bucket, you could go to a tap and then just periodically just splash water. You don't have to pour water into it, because it doesn't need an awful lot of cooling. What you should always do is look at PlugShare, look at ChargeFox to see if there's a live issue. So if the pin is black on the ChargeFox app, that's for most chargers. Which if you're not on the Eastern Seaboard, once you've hit Townsville, then it's virtually milk and honey superchargers all the way to Port Augusta, everywhere. So, but if it's not on the Eastern Seaboard, it's mainly ChargeFox where you'll see most of the chargers. In Darwin, it's Evie. In the lower part of the Northern Territory, it's the NRMA, but they also use ChargeFox, so you can use a ChargeFox app, albeit it costs a few cents per kilowatt hour more to do that. But yeah, that's basically it. The most, if you're going to do, like, I don't know how long you're going to do your lap for. If you're going to spend like a month or something, then it's cool. You just sort of pace yourself slowly. If you want to go a little bit quicker, and rather than necessarily locking yourself into saying, on this day I'll be at this place and the next day I'll be at another place, you could be fairly flexible, although it is kind of tourist season then, so it's going to be pretty busy for accommodation. So that sort of depends. But the best commodity on a long road trip like this is flexibility. If you go, well, I can't make it to that town, I'll just stay in this one or whatever.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing it with a very flexible schedule. So it's a matter of, okay, well, I can't make it to this place within the time frame, whatever. That's fine. I'll stay here an extra 1 or 2 days or whatever. So
well, and you could look at my Twitter handle or X handle, which is just Harold_Murphy. So it's HARALD_Murphy. Or if you just look at the hashtag AUSYTOUR, OzY, so it's Australian Model Y Tour, TOUR. And I go to every single place I stop and charge, I'll say what the distance was from the previous place, what my watt hours per kilometre were, and what I was charging at, and whether or not it worked. So, and I also use PlugShare and read the comments, and don't just read the very last comment, because sometimes you'll get more interesting information from a few comments ago, where someone may say, so a great example of that was at Willair, which is on the way up to Nanyatara or Karratha. It's the first charger after Carnarvon, and I'll just look it up. Manilla. Apologies, Manilla. Do discount this. This is wrong. The actual PlugShare, the proper point is here. And at Manilla, like I said, you don't always want to read the top comment because that's really weird. Hang on 2 seconds. I just wonder if someone has moved that pin, which would be rather dumb. Oh, yes, they have. That's very dumb. Okay, so you say unnecessary charge, blah, blah. I just said work to this time, late afternoon. The AC charge is still not working. This lady, she was lamenting the fact that she charged at the wrong place or thought there was at the wrong place. But further down, there was someone that basically said, oh no, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Oh, here we go. Arrived at 6:06, so this is nighttime. Plugged in and started charging okay. Charged from 20 to 29% and the system cut out. System reset and basically couldn't get it running again. Thankfully, basically the sun came up and then everything was okay once the solar panels sort of got light. Now, that's kind of, it's a little bit concerning, but it's useful information because just because someone has said, yeah, it worked for me, doesn't necessarily mean there might not be some kind of issue at that site. which is always good to know about.
Mm.
But yeah, frustratingly, that site has actually, it's in the wrong location. So in fact, I might be able to do this live if possible, and you can edit it, and the pin is in the wrong location. So we'll just drag it up to where it's supposed to be. And then I think you just go like that.
You need to hit the top left, I think.
Oh, sorry.
If you do that again, and there was a little.
We'll just do that again. Okay, so we'll go
and address the pin after you're done.
And it's actually about there.
Yes, so it should be that one there. Yep, see if that works.
Didn't have a save. Maybe there's a save at the bottom.
No,
update.
yeah.
It was update. Sorry. So update. I think I don't know why someone thought they thought it was clever to play with that. Unfortunately, now what's happened is there are 3 pins. Now this pin here should be deleted. Someone has added that, and I don't know why.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that's the other thing too, is, and then after this we might get some other questions as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
It doesn't totally dominate everything, but one thing you need to do too is zoom in. So I'm just going to go to a very bad site, which is the infamous NRMA Nullarbor Roadhouse charger. Now, if you were just to be zoomed like this and you click on the pin, then this is actually, I'll just click on this photo. It's actually this charger, which is a 20 kilowatt DC charger plugged into a 3-phase outlet. And it just so happens it's the top pin. It's the one that you see first. But you need to drill in, and actually the person, whoever took this photo, has clicked on the incorrect pin. But clearly they're not a Tesla owner, so they weren't as aware of what's going on. But there are notice how there's 2 pins? This one here is
Just
for
the
the NRMA one. And then if you look at the comments on that, there's some idiot called Harold Murphy that said the number 1 charger did start, but after delivering about 13 kilowatt hours at a rate of between 44 and 49 kilowatts, backup generator turned on and power plunged to 9.4 kilowatts. And then also charger number 2 is not working. But you need to have clicked on that correct pin. Otherwise, you might have seen comments more to do with the other charger, which was it worked all perfectly well. So it's always good to drill down. So zoom in, click on the pin, and read a few of the comments to see how things are going. But look, you're going to have a great time. I recommend everyone does a lap of Australia at least once, and obviously in an EV, and even better still in a Tesla. It's great fun. But before you do go, do make contact, because there are a few things you need. Thankfully, less things you need these days. The one essential is a Type 2 to Type 2 lead, because that will act as your backup for many of the fast DC chargers. So at least you'll keep going. You then need your UMC with your 15 amp and 10 amp outlet. And then actually you don't really need much else, except for Camowheel. You need a 3-phase portable charger, which is like a Cons, which you can borrow from the club as a financial club member. But hopefully the NRMA will be putting in a charger sometime, but we just don't know when. But maybe June or July is a little bit too soon for that to happen.
It goes up.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
Thanks, Tim, for asking about the Nullarbor. We're thinking of doing that in end of August, September.
Right.
And I wanted to ask more about Starlink, which I know is not Tesla.
No, absolutely. So the best deal is you get a Starlink Mini. I mean, they're not that cheap, but you can get Yeah, it's 500 or so, or 590. Yeah, it might be $600. Although they do periodically go on special. Ironically, the Starlink Mini is dearer than the full size one. And there are a couple of advantages on the Mini. So, for example, on the full size Starlink, the easiest way to power it is using a small inverter because you've got the whole modem set up and the 240-volt supply. Whereas the Mini you can run on DC. And I don't, there is, if you just go on, I'll try and find it on Amazon. It's actually a really good deal. I mean, it costs $50, but it's a great thing, which I'll just make sure there's nothing. Here we go. Rightio. I think I can share that without any. Yeah, it should be fine. So you can get a 3-in-1 Starlink mini cable, 5 meters, which is what you need if you've got a Model Y and you want to put the DC source in the back rather than the front. And it actually has 3 inputs, so you can have the 12-volt DC, you can have USB-C, and you can have the Starlink's DC connector at one end, and then the other end you just plug it into the Starlink Mini, and it costs $47 if you've got Prime. And would you believe, free delivery tomorrow if I order within the next 3 hours, which is just ridiculous that you can get this item in less than 24 hours. And that means you can plug it straight into the Mini. What I've done, and that's just because I'm lazy, is I just got a bit of masking tape and taped. I lent the Starlink Mini so that the edge of it, and you do it landscape, so that sort of like the longer bit is along between the left and the right side of the car. Just put the edge on the top part of my touchscreen, and then just let the other end just lay on the dash, and just put a little bit of masking tape on the edge of the screen and the terminal to just hold it in place. So it's sort of pointing at a bit of an angle out towards the front of the windscreen. I didn't mount it on the very front part of the dash, or let's call it towards the very front of the car, because you get that white reflection from sunlight in the windscreen, and that can be annoying. But if you place it backwards to where the touchscreen is, then it works perfectly well. Other people have done things like they've got suction cup mounts on their glass roof.
The back of the roof, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some 3D printed models where you can have suction cups with a little bracket and all that sort of stuff. I've gaffer taped it to my roof. But one disadvantage is if it's hard up against your roof, if you're parked and the car's not flowing through the airstream, your roof gets very hot and the terminal can overheat, and then it just stops giving you internet while you're parked. Shortly after you take off again and drive into the airstream, the roof cools down relatively, and then the Starlink will work again. So by putting it on the dash, it's near the aircon vents, it's always cool. But it works super well. You can then do you can do Wi-Fi calling on your phone, and you'll have a couple of hundred megabits per second everywhere you go. The only time you get sort of jittery service is if you're in a very heavily forested area, which is actually quite a few places, and the call will drop out because it doesn't work very well through trees. And the satellites aren't necessarily directly overhead. But yeah, Starlink works spectacularly well, and you can just get the roaming package, which I think is $80 a month for 50 gigabytes.
Yeah, something like that.
And the good thing is you can cancel it. Sorry, you can suspend it. So when you buy a subscription to Starlink, whatever date that is, say the middle of the month, then every month you'll get a new renewal. If you cancel, it's a little bit like Tesla's premium connectivity service. If you cancel the day after you had another payment go through, you'll still get it for another 29 days until that whole period is elapsed, and then it will stop working. and you can just leave it in a suspended state for 9 months, 10 months, and then only when you do another long road trip, you only have to pay for another month, and then you'll get it for 4 weeks from when you pay.
Would it
So
be
yeah,
enough just to have Starlink and say, because we're on Vodafone
yeah,
for our
yes,
phone, would
no,
it be enough
yes,
to get Starlink and not get Telstra?
yes, absolutely, because in your phone, I don't know whether you got an iPhone. I know iPhones, there's a setting for Wi-Fi calling. Oh, sorry, that might be a feature you might have to check that Vodafone does. So just check that Vodafone does do that,
Yeah.
because I think the telco has to be able to enable that. But as long as Vodafone does Wi-Fi calling, then it will work with Starlink. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Oh, the only other thing too is, look, I haven't done a lot of research into this, but you can chew through that roaming limit pretty quickly, the 50 gigabytes. I know that sounds like a lot, but things like phones and apps will update. So you want to do things like turn off automatic updating on your phone so that your phone, because normally phones or any device is data hungry on Wi-Fi because it thinks Wi-Fi is free or unlimited, whereas in one case it's sort of not. So you might want to just Google how to set your phone to a lower data consuming mode, which is different to the other mode that's for normally the mobile service, which is low data mode. That's normally just for GSM stuff, not for Wi-Fi. But just turn off, app updates and just look to see if you can put your phone in a lower Wi-Fi data mode. I think something like metered Wi-Fi mode or something like that. Unless you go Hollywood and get the $170 whatever a month service, and then it's unlimited data. But
It's
more
195.
expensive.
Upgrade.
195.
195. Oh, right. Yeah. So that's a bit expensive. But also Starlink does offer data packs, but I think they're about $10 a gigabyte, which is, it's not terrible. It's, but there is that extra cost.
Cool. Thanks. And thanks, Tim, for bringing up the trip around Australia.
All good.
And like I said, if you want to sort of discuss it more, just call 62623131. We might actually do a special episode. It might not even be on a Wednesday. Well, mate, I don't know. We'll have to think about it. That goes into extreme detail at every single place you'll stop. If you did around Australia, or that would also encompass, obviously, across the Nullarbor. Incidentally, and Colin, I'll get to you in 2 seconds, the Baladonia Horizon Power off-grid solar powered, battery buffered, solar powered and diesel generator backup site is now active as of today. So we're actually looking for people that were driving across today or tomorrow to test it out. So the good news is that's another site that's been added that will hopefully work pretty well.
Also, Harold, we have the casual meetups, and it's an opportunity to talk with people who have done trips across the Nullarbor, etc.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the next casual meetup will be on the 1st of June.
And I'll give you the draft email later.
Yes, that's cool. Yes, very good. Actually, without broadcasting homework, is there any chance of, say, by Saturday?
I've drafted it.
Perfect. No, awesome. Thank you. Because I'm leaving at pre-Sparrows on Sunday.
Yep, I know your timeline. You prefer to keep it, but yes.
Yeah, but I'll be back. I'll be back in 9 days. So, but unfortunately, it'll be the day after the casual meetup. But anyway, that's on the 1st of June. And where is it, Steve? I can't remember.
Yeah, we've chosen the Tap House at Mulberry Estate in, was it Caversham?
Right. Awesome, fantastic. Probably it's. I don't know, Steve. Do you know if it's dog friendly? I think
it's got mini golf. I think it might be dog friendly in the beer garden, and that's where we're booked for.
I'll send out the email for it. Oh, look, it'll have to be on Monday. Yeah, I'll be able
I'll
to do
send
that.
it to you when we finish because there's
No, that's cool. No, what I do
Then
is
you can choose when you send it out.
yeah. I usually try to send it out 6 days before the event so that there can be no confusion what Sunday means or what Wednesday means. So we alternate between a Wednesday evening casual meetup and a Sunday lunchtime casual meetup. But if I say sent it on a Saturday for not the next day but the next week, there's a small chance that someone might misinterpret it and attend somewhere where there's no one. So I usually like to do it 6 days. So I'll send that email out on this coming Monday. And the good thing is the email will have a link to the venue's website. So you can always suss out and see if it's dog friendly or give them a buzz and just say, hey, is it okay if I bring my Shih Tzu or something? Or if you say, if I bring my Great Dane, they might go, not so much. But yeah, definitely. When you see the email, just give them a buzz or look at their email address.
Yep.
Look at their website, to see.
And I'll also do a Facebook event marker for it so that people can look at it that way also.
Yep. And anyone is welcome. You don't need to own a Tesla to attend, because it's not just for owners, it's for prospective owners. And sometimes those people don't even realize they're going to be owners until they talk to Tesla owners and see the cars and hear the stories, and then are suddenly compelled to do what they should do, which is jump into an EV. Alrighty. Oh, Colin, sorry, you got your hand up.
Thanks, Harold. I've been doing quite a bit of driving around the southwest the last month or two, and I'm discovering more and more erroneous speed limit areas and driving around. And in some places, it's borderline dangerous. Like sometimes it really jumps around a bit and it can mess with autopilot when you're driving on that. I wanted to ask, is there any method that I could contribute to, or is it feedback you could give to Tesla, or is there some way we could go about fixing some of those? Because they're quite
really
widespread, and some of them are like in a fairly short space of time, it can jump around 3 or 4 different speed limits.
Yeah, the frustrating problem is main roads are the people that collate all that information, and then that's passed on probably automatically to OpenStreetMaps, which is then what is used to construct the digital database that Tesla has in its navigation data. Because there's two ways the car determines speed. It's either casually and optically through the cameras, which means you can just put up a sign that looks like a speed sign, and it'll just take that for granted. I think it was Mike that was explaining that, of course, that can be reset once you get to a node, which is a point of difference in the data, or at least a reference point, or basically reference point on that road's database, which can then reset the limit to whatever it has that information to. And that's where sometimes it can come unstuck, whereby there's a glitch in that database. And the challenge is trying to get a WA state government instrumentality to do anything about it, given that they presume they're masters of the universe. And on a day-to-day basis, they really don't care because they don't experience it as a problem. Or it's to get OpenStreetMaps. And then the other thing too is Tesla usually only updates their navigation database roughly twice a year. And in fact, there's a fairly fresh update that's occurred over the last few weeks, which means there won't be another one for about 6 months. So even if you updated it, main roads database today, you won't see that difference for another roughly 6 months, unfortunately. And yeah, I
Also,
agree.
Colin, can I just let you know also that the Shire of Augusta-Margaret River has gone through a rezoning of speed limits. So your car will be wrong now in many places. For example, around some of the back roads of Margaret River, they're going to 40 kilometres now, not 50. So yeah, that's something you have to watch out for. And the automatic maps won't keep up with that.
Yeah, like today I drove from Bunbury to Margaret River and back for the Margaret River Pro was on. And yeah, there were lots of places just on the major roads where I noticed the speed limit was incorrect or it was bouncing around, changing speed limits multiple times. There was at least a couple of very clear, very proper, 110 signs that I drove past waiting to reset the speed limit on autopilot and just missed it. And I was like, that's a blatant, that's a official sign, both sides of the road. It should have really picked it up and it just missed it. So yeah, it was just, is there a way you can suggest edits to OpenStreetMap or anything like that to kind of
I believe so, but I
circumvent the
don't
process
know.
a bit?
Yeah, but I don't know to what extent they would take any notice of it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't had any experience with OpenStreetMaps. If that's a possible vector to get some changes, yeah. The only thing is, if it's a section of road that's subject to main roads updates, then it could get edited, and then when main roads downloads the next update or whatever, it may all get overwritten.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could be like a bit of a whack-a-mole. And then the problem is it depends on when it was that Tesla extracted the actual data from OpenStreetMaps to bundle into their navigation database,
Mm.
whether or not an edit actually went through or the edit was overwritten by a subsequent main roads update, and then Tesla grabbed it and then pushed it through to the cars, and then you're stuck with that data for the next 6 months,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So
Do
yeah,
you,
it
do you
is a
think
bit
it's
painful.
do you think it's something Tesla's aware of, or that you could feed back to them in their, because I know you meet with them, I think quarterly, and
Yep.
just if they
I
can
just missed
relieve
it on the
pressure on
last
main roads or
Yeah, I just missed it on the last update, but it's something we'll definitely raise. I think the next one is about the middle of July.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely raise it.
And just tell them, particularly the 2025.8 nav data update that
Yep.
happened, that fixed a good chunk of the new Woman-Wadandi Highway, but
Yep.
not all of it. There's
Not all. Yeah.
definitely still some bits of that are totally
Yep.
wrong. That it tried to route me through a closed road that's not even finished the other day, and I was like, "What are you doing?" So yeah, that's definitely one that needs a bit more updating.
Indeed. Indeed. Cool. Alrighty. We're getting towards 9:30, so we're nearly at closing time, about 10 minutes. So we got any sort of closing-ish questions or any questions really, or comments?
Well,
Yes, Karim. Oh, sorry, Darren. Actually, sorry, I think I saw Karim's hand up first, and then we'll go straight to you, Darren. And then I think maybe Pete was going to say something.
Okay, first question, how do I actually do the hand on in this program? Do you know? Because like one of the gentlemen just before me had his hand up as an icon, and I can't find it. I've been looking for it.
Bottom of the screen called reactions.
React.
Yeah.
Raise
So
hand. Thank
click on
you.
that, raise.
It's the one I didn't look at because I thought it would just be sort of like smileys and things. Okay. Two more things. One, Tim, who planned to go around Australia, I've just sent you a message. If you want to check your messages there in the chat,
Oh, yep. No worries. I got
just have a look. I'm inviting you if you're passing through the Gold Coast. You're welcome to stay a night in my home. Then my phone number's there as well, so feel free to get in contact.
Thanks, man.
No worries. And also to John Lemming, thank you very much for that link about the what Harold was speaking about the ATO and all of that, FBT. So I appreciate that. I've got that too. So
You're
also
welcome.
thank you to everybody, Harold, but everybody for a really nice professional event. This 2-hour session. Thank you.
No worries. And obviously, Karim, you can watch it on watch it on YouTube or X. So we do post it on YouTube and X.
Okay.
And I'll be passing your place. I think it's about Thursday next week, but I won't be stopping. I'm really sorry. I'll just be a blur down the Bruce Highway. So it's going to be a hot lap, and I don't have time to stop even for a coffee. But
Okay.
but I'll wave virtually past anyway.
Well, okay, if you're sure of that. Otherwise, would you like my phone number anyway? I can send
No,
it
no,
to
no.
you.
So no, because like I said, this is
Okay.
going to be a hot lap, and hot means hot. It's 9 days, 13,500 k's. That's averaging 1,500 k's a day.
Yeah.
There's not even time. If
Yeah,
you were
no,
at the
that's
supercharger, at the time, I'd be able to give you probably 5 minutes because it takes about 5 to do the socials, and another 5, and then 10 minutes, and supercharging's done, and I'm off. But
maybe Tim will have the courtesy of staying a bit longer.
most likely so.
Okay.
All right, Darren, you are going to ask something.
No, I was just going to tell a bit of a story. Back in January the 2nd this year, I was in Florida and took a Cybertruck for a test drive, and it was awesome. So they let us go out in the Cyber Beast, so even better again. And then once they gave it to us for half an hour to run around in, and then when I got back to the showroom, I asked him about the FSD, and he says, "Oh well, you can take it out for another half an hour if you want and try out the FSD." So, and it was basically I plugged in, well, just turned the FSD on, and the car took us out of the showroom car park and started going down the highway without a destination in or anything. It was just taking us for a drive. Then the wife, whilst we were going along, touched the screen sort of on the map, and it took us to there. So, yep, couldn't believe
Yeah,
how good it was. So,
yeah.
and
I don't know what to
then,
say. Just very jealous, very envious.
Yes.
yeah, so, and then last Wednesday, because in the meantime, the last 4 months I've been doing a around the world trip. We went back into Fort Lauderdale and we thought, oh, we'll call into Tesla again. So they let us have another run in this time it was the dual motor Cybertruck, and tried out the FSD in the latest Model Y with the full self-driving, and basically the car did all the driving from the showroom to a shopping centre, and then from the shopping centre back to the showroom sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
brilliant. So I can't wait for it to get to Australia.
Absolutely. Darren, did you have to intervene at all during any of those drives?
There was one where basically as we were driving along, the car was moving over into the right-hand lane. There was a car coming out of a side street into that right lane. And more so probably because the wife sort of went the kind of motion, and I obviously tapped the brake in the process, so disengaged it. So I don't know whether the car would have given way to the one turning, but we should have had right away because we were on the main road sort of thing. The other car was pulling out. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it might have been you might not have needed to intervene, and you
No.
might not have intervened had you been more familiar with the way, like, have full confidence that it would have had your back and it would have been fine. So that's cool.
Because it was just a brief sort of, yeah.
Did you do a
Yes.
Plaid, Model S Plaid?
No, I didn't. No.
Well, I don't know why you'd ask that, Damo. Seriously, why would you ever want to find out if someone did the plaid? Very good.
Down in the downtown area, it was pretty hard to find empty
Secret.
roads where So, but I was impressed with the Cyber Beast. You put your foot down in it, basically, you could hear it sort of grab onto the road with a slight chirp and then took off.
Well, one day there'll be several of us in this room that will own Cyber Beasts in Australia. One day. Mike, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just a final quickie. I was thinking while we've been chatting about you watering charging stations to see if they would grow anymore. And I've been thinking about getting a tire inflator, and Azito is my brand, and they've got a slightly larger one than the hand ones, and it has a low pressure inflator as well for blowing up your mattresses, as well as a high pressure for your tires. And I'm just wondering, instead of fluffing around with water, would that, with it being a 12-volt fan at the back, just something to think of? You're going to carry a tire inflator anyway. Maybe just a slightly bigger one with a high volume, low pressure job.
To be honest,
probably not.
The heat content of air is very low.
Oh.
So,
maybe.
And it's a bit restricted because you've got those holes, those perforations, and you might not be able to get really enough. Look, if you just had like a Windex spray bottle, and with or without Windex, and you found a tap nearby, or if you had one of those pump, those pump water bottles that have a little, I don't know what you call it, like a little teat thing,
Like
little pop top thing.
Yeah.
You could then sort of mostly close it and just give it a slight squirt. And the thing is, the heat content of water is very high, and the latent heat of evaporation of that water is even higher. So you just need to do a few squirts every now and then. You're not really rejecting a lot of heat, and just spreading a little bit of water. Like the hose was definitely overkill. And after I filmed that first video, I then went back and turned the water right down. I actually took the end fitting off because it's one of those click-on fittings, and then just pinched the hose to get like a thin stream of water. And then I really cut down on the water use. So I used very little. In fact, I might get creative when I go there next week and just use a squirty bottle and take a video of that and show that you can still get full power from that.
Yeah. Now, you're an engineer. You just need a Venturi on your water bottle with the high volume pump, and then you're in business.
What I should have done is I should have just whipped out my Torx security bits, which I had in my car,
Yes.
taken the cowling off, and probably fixed the fan or done something else. But
anyway, all good.
Anyway, these things they're there to test us. But because I'm doing a hot lap, that none of this experimentation beforehand is allowed. It has to be the real thing. So I'm very much prepared to very quickly get that thing to full power.
So when you get your new one, next day or so?
I already got it today. So
cool.
So yes, the what was much loved old performance Model Y is now yesterday's news. It's my best car is always my next car, and for the time being, the launch edition long range Juniper Model Y is my best car until my Cybertruck. So
speaking of Juniper, in chat there is a question about engaging auto steer in the Juniper model.
I hate that. Shouldn't say it. So auto steer, you engage it by pressing the right hand scroll wheel inwards, and it's only a single press, and I think it can only be a single press, and that gets you straight to autopilot. I haven't yet done the research to find out if and how you can get to just traffic aware cruise control, which is something that you do need to do on occasion. So I haven't had the time to do that research, because I've literally been running around changing tires and rims and stuff, and basically taking everything out of my old car and putting it into my new car, because I only just got back from my latest lap yesterday. Yes, yesterday. And I've only got until 3 a.m. on Sunday to be ready. So I've only got 4 days off. So I've been madly decanting stuff and moving stuff and washing clothes and all that sort of stuff for the next lap, before I can do the research into how do you do traffic aware cruise control. It may be that you can't even do that. I have looked in the cars with stalks. You can do a double press or a single press for autopilot. A single press would give you just traffic aware cruise control, and a double press would give you autopilot. What I've noticed today in the brief time I drove my car was that after you've engaged autopilot, if you turn the steering wheel off axis, it will not just disengage autopilot, it'll also disengage traffic aware cruise control. So unless anyone in the room knows how to engage traffic aware cruise control on a Juniper, it may not even be possible. I don't know without autopilot.
Also, Leon made the comment to the new user about maybe the calibrating of the cameras. That's still an issue.
Oh, that only takes, for me, that was very, very quick, actually. I got the car from Carrington Street, so from O'Connor, and I drove towards Leach Highway. I think that's right. Yeah, it turned right, and by about the next set of lights, so it was about 7 or 8 kilometres. I was actually on the phone to Pete at the time, who was driving his awesome Juniper Model Y. It already had calibrated, so it's very, very quick calibration. 10 kilometres at the very latest, at the very, very most. And it'll then be calibrated.
Mine wasn't even that. Yeah, similar to yours, Harold, probably 3 to 5 kilometres. That was it.
Yeah, very quick these days. So, and you'll notice because, well, you won't get the indicator that you can actually engage it, which is the little grayed out steering wheel in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You'll see like a little progress blue bar that I forget whether it goes from solid white to solid blue progressively or goes the opposite. I can't remember because it was very brief. And it literally is, once you've collected your car, driven down the road a bit, it will be calibrated. And something else I should have done at the start of the program is we won't have a recorded version of Ask Us Anything next week because unfortunately I'll be on the road. But you can still jump on. I just won't send an email out about it, but you can still jump on and there'll be a few TOCWA committee members on the chat, including Pete, probably, unless Pete's got an urgent job to do or whatever. So, but we just won't record it and put it up on X or YouTube. But that's only for next week, and then Wednesday week we'll resume normal Ask Us Anything sessions that are recorded and all that sort of stuff. All right, any last minute questions?
Just quickly, I'm just having a look at the new Model Y user manual because in response to Chris's question about auto steer, it looks like perhaps you have to choose between TAC and auto steer and you only get one choice for single press engage. Because the instructions in the user manual, it's the same for both. So for TAC, it says press the right scroll wheel button. And then immediately below that for auto steer, it says to use it, press the right scroll wheel button. So it's the same instruction. So it would seem you have to choose to have one or the other enabled in the settings.
Okay, I'll find out.
We couldn't find anywhere in the settings where you can actually make that choice, select that option.
Don't you have to enable the beta of auto steer the same way you did with the old Y?
Yes, you do. But actually, for us it was already enabled because I've now worked out it grabbed our profiles. So when you have a profile and you have multiple vehicles in your Tesla account, your profile settings will follow from one car to another as long as that car is registered as being able to be used in your Tesla account. So if you've got a brand new Tesla account, so say if you're a brand new Tesla customer, definitely you have to enable autopilot. It comes default as disabled. But yeah, like I said, if there's anyone on the show next week, then Pete will know by then, and I'll certainly know by Wednesday week because I would have had a lot of time in the car to play with all those settings.
But Colin, you might be right. The way to choose which one to use would be by turning auto steer off. So if you have auto steer on, then you press it once and you just get TAC. If you turn auto steer on,
I've just popped screenshots of the user manual into the chat of the two sections, and the instruction to engaging both is exactly the same. So that would suggest that you have to select which one you want to choose.
Yeah.
a different way. That's weird that it's not single and double click.
No,
So
because
it is.
in the Legacy Model Y, it's actually got the option where you can choose double single click, and then single click is cruise control or TAC, and double click is autopilot.
Yeah, so that's the auto steer bit where it just says to use it, press the right scroll button. And if you look at the previous one, it's exactly the same instruction for engaging TAC.
Yeah.
Hey Harold, it is a little bit to get used to going to the steering wheel control, going from the store to go to that single press autopilot on the wheel. I was about to put it on a sexy button because I just couldn't get the timing right. But once you get used to it, it's killer. Like you'll hit it every time, but you might play around, like push it a couple of times or whatever, and it is a bit annoying at the start, but it's wicked once you get used to it.
The problem is if you do a double tap, it actually cancels the first tap. So that's how you actually cancel autopilot, is either you put a bit of extra force on the steering wheel, which disengages autopilot automatically, or if you're in autopilot and you press the scroll wheel, it'll cancel it. So we need to get some clarification. Colin, if, as you suggest, if the only way to have TAC is to disable autopilot, that's not fantastic, because, for example, if you're in the country and you've got suddenly the speed limit plummets to 40 k's an hour and you can't go more than 10 k's an hour faster than the speed limit, then you need to have TAC so that you can steer manually and have the car do the speed automatically. Or the other way is you have autopilot running, but you use your accelerator pedal to go faster than autopilot thinks it wants you to go. But then you've got to contend with the annoying blue flashing screen of urgency that comes up periodically. So
yeah, I use both all the time. So I'd be quite annoyed if I couldn't quickly and easily access both.
I guess we'll find out.
I don't think I've even used TAC once in 3.5 years. So autopilot.
I use it on minor roads, like when I don't want it to be doing autopilot because there's roundabouts or whatever the autopilot can't handle. It just helps it stick to the speed limit.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a few sections of road down Albany Way, or Denmark Albany Way, whereby there's a very badly defined shoulder, or the color is sort of similar, and then sometimes you've got this misleading bit of light sand sort of that's formed well off the shoulder or well off the bitumen, and the car may interpret that as a line, and it actually ends up that your left wheels can often sort of move into the shoulder, and that's quite disconcerting, especially on a corner. So yeah, I agree, Colin. There are some places where you don't want autopilot engaged because it's just not suitable for that particular road. But I guess
that said, though, and yes, that's definitely a negative. You do want to be able to, be able to toggle between one and the other on the fly, especially because in order to turn on auto steer, you actually have to have the car in park, which is even less ideal. But the things that were absolutely fantastic with the car, I don't know how many kilometers you've done already, Harold, but I'm on about 220.
Oh, no, I've done nothing. I've had so many other things to do, Pete. It's been quite frustrating. I've done nothing.
Oh, you'll have plenty of driving to do over the next couple of weeks.
By Monday week, the car will have added 13,554 k's plus or minus. So it'll be fine.
Just drove 365 days. So
yeah, indeed.
But just a couple of things that really stood out. Just how much more quieter the car is. It's just so much pleasant. The suspension is unbelievable. The build quality is noticeably better. Hardware 4 is fantastic. The cameras are just so much clearer. In fact, there's a turn that I do. It's an 80-kilometre speed limit, and with hardware 3, the car starts to shift towards the centre of the road, whereas hardware 4, at 80 kilometres an hour, it just stays exactly in the middle of the lane. So that was perfect. The acceleration is much better. but the wireless charger is just next level. It can go through a phone cover. You can even have credit cards in between, and it will still charge the phone. It's unbelievable. I've never seen such a strong wireless charger. So just a few things, and that afterburner effect, the blue, so the red light on the bottom of the road, that's actually got a practical benefit to it. So when you're reversing, it actually makes it much easier to see behind you.
Sorry, Pete, what do you mean by the afterburner effect? You mean that new red light that they've got along the back?
Yep.
Yeah, reflection from the light bar on the back, the red light bar.
Yep.
So it reflects the light onto the ground, and it's not just onto the ground behind you, but to the left and the right of the vehicle by a couple of meters. So yeah, it's actually quite handy, but it looks stunning. Looks really cool.
I haven't seen one yet, so I don't know if I want to go and see one or not.
You don't
wait for the performance one, Damo, which will come out in the next few months.
They look mint from what I've seen. They look mint, and I was hoping to see one in China when I was in China, but the dealership got them 2 days after I left. So
that's always the way.
That glacier blue, for the first time I've seen it outside the showroom today, and the more sort of varied light settings that you see it in, the more it grows on you. It looks absolutely stunning under various lighting conditions. Really great colour.
I'm sure in not so long a time I'll be giving someone the Tesla Wave and see one in the wild. I don't know. I think maybe the Tesla Wave's dead, Pete.
Oh,
not going too good.
It's wavering, definitely.
I've seen 3 in the wild now, and each time I've waved. And today I waved from my Juniper to their Juniper and got nothing but stun looks. So
maybe it's working Juniper to Juniper, but it's definitely not working Model 3 to everything else now.
No, what I'm saying is Juniper to Juniper, I got no response. So
copy.
It's because it's mainstream people buying it. They just didn't. It just doesn't occur to them that cars are special. So, it is pretty dead. I must admit, I don't wave anymore. But if I get a wave, I'll give one instantly back. Yeah. But most of the time, I don't get one.
I wave every time, but yeah, I haven't got one back for ages now. I think
we're a dying breed, Damo. Definitely. Alrighty, on that happy note, it's probably appropriate to wind this program down now. So, remembering, of course, that we won't be back for recording for another 2 weeks. All right, Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainably abundant, have a great 10th lap, Harold, and stay ahead of the curve.
Thanks, Pete. And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful fortnight, everyone, and also a great casual meetup Sunday week. And I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Night, Harold. Cheers. Safe travels, Harold.